Check a mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Oh, man. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm the one and only DJ Storms. How many of you are sick of me saying that? How many of you are sick of me saying that? 5 streams. 5 long streams this week. And I got 1 vlog video coming to you on Wednesday. A lot of material. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank each and every single one of you for joining me here on this very chilly Monday afternoon. Thankfully, it was just a little bit warmer and the snow is starting to melt. Thank Christ. For some reason, snow decided to switch from flurries to full-on flakes. Thankfully, it was only like 1 to 1.5 inches. I don't know if I could have handled any more of that. Snow's already off my car and I am just sitting pretty. And we are on to our final stream of this long week of streams. This is the official rewind for NXT Deadline 2022, which of course streamed live on Peacock last Saturday, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Time from Orlando, Florida, and it was the final premium live event for WWE of the year and the final premium live event for NXT in the Performance Center. Thank God. And the next event will be on February 4th, and it will be NXT Vengeance Day from Charlotte, North Carolina. Thank God. Thank God. Well, we got a solid amount of people in here so far. We got Didi, we got the Shooter, we got the Final Hoss. Thank you very much for joining. I greatly appreciate each and every single one of you. Just a couple things. I just want to send out some thank yous. First of all, thank you to Tommy Fierro, if he is watching. He is the CEO of ISPW. We had 2 major ISPW events over the course of the last few weeks. We had the ISPW Christmas Chaos Part 2 show over in Totowa. That vlog video will be up on Wednesday, like I said before, Dynamite. That was a very good show, and I cannot wait to see what the future holds for ISPW. And I mean this when I tell you this. This is the most fun that I think I've ever had as a professional wrestling fan, and it's because of Tommy Fierro. So thank you very much to Tommy. Also, thank you to my boy Bam. I know Bam's going to be watching later. Shout out to Rob Williams of the Bob Culture Podcast. Thank you to Bull James, Michael Mars, Vicious Vicky, GKM, and everyone at the ISPW Christmas party last night in Little Falls. I had a fantastic time. Tommy was singing quite a bit of karaoke, so pretty sure that's going to be on everyone's Christmas cards going into the holiday season. But I greatly appreciate every single one of you that took time out of your night to talk to me. Greatly appreciate every single one of you. It was a fantastic time, and I'm very much looking forward to Winter Warfare on January 20th in West Milford next year. Also, shout out to HooliGrim. Shout out to HooliGrim. HooliGrim is fantastic. I'm pretty sure we'll probably see him a little bit later on today. HooliGrim joined me yesterday afternoon before the Christmas party, and we went live for about 2 hours where we dissected everything Ring of Honor Final Battle related. He brought a very nice analytical presence, very good takes. He dissected everything very well. The show flowed very, very nicely. I'm telling you, HooliGrim, I really do believe that HooliGrim has the potential to make it as a professional wrestling YouTube analyst. So, HooliGrim, if you're watching, I greatly appreciate you taking time out of your day to talk Ring of Honor Final Battle with me, which was a fantastic show. And I look to have you back on the channel very soon in the near future next year. If I don't sound as hyped up as I usually am, I'm trying to just tone it down just a little bit. I am physically exhausted. It has been one of the busiest weeks throughout the history of the brand. 5.5 years, and I don't think I've ever been this exhausted from doing all those streams. Absolutely ridiculous. It has been nuts. And yes, HooliGrim is in the chat. Shout out to you, HooliGrim. Thank you very much for all the support, and thank you for taking time out of your day to appear on the channel. But I am exhausted. And I cannot wait to going back to doing one stream a week, at least for the next couple weeks until we get to Battle of the Belts, and then the Rumble, and then fucking Vengeance Day, and then the Chamber. It's going to be ridiculous. And you're damn right I'm going hard. I always go hard. I go hard all day and night. Anyway, Deadline. I said multiple times, especially on the rundown for Deadline last Tuesday, almost a week ago. I said that NXT Deadline, it needs to be a turning point. It needed to be a statement show. It needed to be a show in which NXT finally turns the page on all the past bullshit that they went through throughout the course of the last 15, 16 months with 2.0 and Vince and Bruce and all the cheesy, comedic, childish, juvenile bullshit that we've seen. It needed to be a changing of the guard. I wouldn't necessarily call it a turning point yet. It can be looked at as a turning point, but just like everything pro wrestling related, it's all in the follow-up. It is all in what WWE wants to do and what Shawn Michaels does tomorrow night on the USA Network, and then the next week going into New Year's Evil, and then going into Vengeance Day on February 4th. It all depends on how they want to map everything out and what they book and produce on Tuesdays going forward. But what we got on Saturday was a very good, very well-produced wrestling show. It flew by. The 2.5 hours didn't drag. The match order was correct. For the most part, every match had the right outcome. I can't really sit here and bash it completely. There were a couple things here and there that reminded us of the old NXT with Bruce and Vince and Shawn Michaels, the bullshit that Shawn Michaels has gone through. Shawn Michaels, let me tell you something. If Shawn Michaels does not get rid of that cheesy, juvenile bullshit that we normally see from NXT, he really needs to get the fuck out. Triple H needs to get back into there, and he needs to implement someone that he really fucking trusts to help Shawn Michaels. Because Shawn Michaels, if he's running the ship down there, and what we've been getting over the course of the last couple months since Vince retired is all him, he's got to fucking go. He's got to fucking go, or he needs better guidance. However, at certain points in the show, it felt a little different. It didn't feel like NXT Black and Gold. NXT Black and Gold is dead. That's never coming back. The closest we have to that is Ring of Honor, which is shocking to even think, but it's Ring of Honor. However, Black and Gold may be dead, and that might not be something that we will ever get back, but if we can get at least what we got on Saturday, if we got what we got on Saturday night with NXT going forward with all the shows, I don't think anyone's going to complain, because we got a very, very solid show overall. Probably the best NXT Premium Live event since Vince McMahon retired and Triple H's camp took over. It felt a little bit more important. It felt different. It felt as though they were operating with a sense of, all right, we've had our fun, we've joked around, now it's time to get serious and get back down to fucking business. This show, it must, and I repeat, you can send it to Shawn Michaels, you can send it to Road Dogg, X-Pac, who's ever running NXT down there. This show must serve as a blueprint, a reference, and or model going forward, a model in which every NXT show from here on out must be produced like. You use Deadline as a blueprint for Tuesday, next Tuesday, New Year's Evil, Vengeance Day, Stand and Deliver. You use this show as a blueprint. I don't think anyone's going to have a problem with NXT. It's the worst show on television right now. But if you use Deadline as a blueprint going forward, I am telling you, NXT will be just fine. NXT will feel more important. NXT will feel like WWE's true third brand. It will truly feel like their developmental brand. It will truly feel like a show that's not just childish games. We have a couple of talent here and there, Braun Breaker, Apollo Crews, Carmelo Hayes, Grayson Waller, Tony D'Angelo, Kiana James, Nikita Lyons, Zoe Stark, Roxanne Perez, Pretty Deadly, and Idris Enofe and Malik Blade. Von Wagner has even broken through and become a solid hand on Tuesday nights. It's just the overall creative direction and the overall vibe of the show makes everything about it, makes everything about it channel changing. No one wants to sit through all the childish bullshit and juvenile delinquent shenanigans. Fucking black magic and people throwing up black goo and Isla Dawn being a witch and all this other shit. Schism sucks. The women's division's terrible. Toxic Attraction, I don't even know what the fuck their purpose is anymore. Gigi Dolan and JC Jane are legitimately Marina Shafir and Jessamine Duke 2.0. But if Deadline is used as a model going forward, NXT will finally be looked at as a decent show. It's going to take a while. It's not going to take one show. One good show is fine, and I will give them their props. One good show is fine. But we need 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, so on and so forth. So I really hope Shawn Michaels is listening, and I really hope Shawn Michaels is going to model every single NXT show going forward after Deadline. Before we get into the specifics of Deadline, please make sure, if you haven't already done so, follow me on social media at HistoryMakerDJS. I'm so distracted, I even forgot to put up the banner over here. There we go. The Rewind banner. Please make sure you haven't already done so. Follow me on social media at HistoryMakerDJS. That is at HistoryMakerDJS, both on Twitter and Instagram. Please make sure that you add me on Facebook as well. For collaborations and business inquiries, please send me an email. My email is, of course, StormsTakeOver@gmail.com. Like the official DJ Storms business page, and I may just send you an invite to join the official DJ Storms Posse group on Facebook. All those links are indeed in the description, as well as the link for the Rewind for Ring of Honor Final Battle with my boy HooliGrim, who is currently in the chat. Go and check that out if you guys missed it. He did excellent, and it was a very nice change of pace for me. I enjoy collaborating with new people, and I will have HooliGrim back on the channel sooner rather than later. Please check out all the hardcore sports links. We are looking to become the #1 analytical brand for all sports, including baseball, football, hockey, basketball, UFC, WWE, AEW, Ring of Honor, NXT. You check out the Twitch right down there at Hardcore Sports 1, the Instagram at Hardcore Sports Network, Twitter at Hardcore Sports N, and YouTube Hardcore Sports Network. We're streaming live on 4 different platforms, 6 different accounts. Share the stream out on all platforms: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, Tumblr, Snapchat, TikTok, whatever social media platforms that you might be using. It is very vital that you do so to get me out there and get as many people in the chat as possible, because we're going to have a good time. We're going to have a good time, and we're going to review and dissect everything that went down on Saturday. Please make sure, if you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe button both on my channel and on the Hardcore Sports channel, and hit that notifications bell with a huge coup de grace, because that way you're going to know whenever I pop up on YouTube. Because whenever I pop up on YouTube, oh, baby, it is the best time to be on YouTube. You know why? Because it's the only time that you won't get to see this glorious sideburn chin strap combination and this beautiful mustache right here. Earl Cole's not in the chat. I'm sure we'll see him a little bit later on. We're going to light it up right here on the channel with a little and a dash of and a whole lot of You already know the drill. I don't really need to say it because just like Campbell's soup, I'm just so good. Everybody wants a piece of Storm's my style. I'm also liking my new hair. I'm liking my new hair a lot, actually. I like the slick back pompadour action. I'm liking it. I'm going to continue to let it grow. I'm going to see what can come of it. I see also Rob Williams. He's also growing out the whiskers too. Don't shave that, Rob. Keep on growing it out, brother, if you're watching. Anyway, Deadline. No pre-show match. I'm actually happy that they're not doing any pre-show matches. And if I was them, I would just cease the pre-show matches altogether. The Ring of Honor and AEW pre-show matches have a little bit more meaning, but the WWE pre-show matches, I could do without them. Deadline. We kicked it off with the Women's Iron Survivor Challenge. This is Roxanne Perez, Zoe Stark, Cora Jade, Kiana James, and Indy Hartwell. So, first off, I did not know what to expect with this new concept. But in the end, the concept, 2 thumbs up for me. I got no complaints about the concept. Matter of fact, in a match where I actually thought it was going to be more of a clusterfuck, regardless of who was in it, whether it be the men or the women, I thought the match was kind of going to be a clusterfuck. I didn't know what to expect of it, but in the end, we actually got 2 very well-produced matches, especially the women's. The women's match, very well-produced. The women's match was very well-produced. Everything felt important. A sense of urgency was there. And everything flowed very nicely with these matches. It kept everyone on their toes, both the fans and the professional wrestlers. The rules are simple. 5 competitors. 2 competitors start in the ring. Every 5 minutes, a new superstar enters. The match has a 25-minute time limit. The goal is to pin or make your opponent submit and grab as many pinfalls or submissions in the elapsed time that you are in the match. If you get the pinfall or submission, you gain a point. If you get pinned or you tap out, then you are forced into the penalty box for 90 seconds. At the end of the 25-minute time limit, whoever has the most falls is considered the Iron Survivor and the number 1 contender for the Women's and or NXT World Championships. I gotta say, something new, something fresh with WWE. Normally, I praise them for something fresh, but when it comes to WWE, we're always conditioned to expect the worst. We're always conditioned to expect the worst with WWE because of what Vince and Bruce did and the bad reputation that they gave to the company and the industry in general. So I didn't know what to expect. I was not expecting something good, but in the end, this Women's Iron Survivor Challenge was very well produced. It flowed nicely, and every single one of those women worked their fucking asses off, especially Kiana James. Kiana James, she was getting better in the ring week by week, and I was very much impressed with what Kiana James was doing, but she needed that breakout moment. This was her breakout moment. Even so, a lot of the losers on these shows had breakout moments. And I gotta say, I was very much impressed with Kiana James. She stood out the most in this match. And I'm very, very happy that she got this opportunity. She did phenomenal in this match. Probably the best I've seen Kiana James so far. Really. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing what the future holds for Kiana James. I honestly do believe that Kiana James is going to be an NXT Women's Champion within the next couple years. She's getting better and better by the week. So shout out to Kiana James. So Roxanne Perez drew number 1. Zoe Stark drew number 2. Both women played a little technical game early on. Stark was in control early. Kiana James then came in at number 3. James then with a roundhouse kick to Zoe Stark. Cover on Stark. Perez broke it up. Perez with an uppercut. Stark then hit an enziguri. Stark then smashed Perez's head into the steps. James tried to steal the pin, but that did not work out too well as Perez kicked out. Starks and James, they collided heads. Perez tried to mount the comeback, and she tried to gain the upper hand on Zoe Stark. Kiana James was neutralized for the time being. Zoe Stark with a super kick and the back rotation GTS, which, by the way, that's actually one of my favorite moves in NXT right now. That back rotation GTS, if done wrong, that could really fuck you up. But I love the way that Zoe Stark executes that. The back rotation GTS, Perez gets pinned, Zoe Stark goes up one fall, and Perez is sent to the box. So Perez in this match was playing the role of that come-behind babyface underdog, which is very believable considering that she has that look, she has that vibe to her, and the fans, they just want to root for her because they see themselves in Roxanne Perez. So that right there was a nice touch. So Perez went to the box. Stark and James took each other out with a double clothesline, and Cora Jade came in at number 4. And listen, I've been hard on Cora Jade. And rightfully so. Cora Jade right now is one of the worst professional wrestlers in the company right now. She's worse than Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss has even been stepping up her game a little bit. I've been very hard on Cora Jade, rightfully so. But I gotta say, in this match, she was fluid, she was crisp, she didn't botch, she had a little bit extra intensity. I was not bothered by Cora Jade in this match. Now, she probably won't unblock me. I don't really give a shit. I mean, she's a fucking pussy anyway. But at the end of the day, I can't sit here and say that Cora Jade did bad. She did very well for herself. She played her role nicely. She was fluid. There was no botches. There was no clunkiness. And everything worked out okay. So, hey, props to Cora Jade. So, Cora Jade came in. Perez, after Cora Jade ran wild for a little bit, Perez then came in. She got out of the box. She went right after Jade. Perez then went after James and Stark. Jade took out Perez and rolled up Kiana James to score a fall. Kiana James was then sent to the box. Stark with a drop kick to Jade and a crossface. Jade then with an Indian deathlock, and then Perez came in with a figure 4 headlock on Cora Jade. James got out of the box, and James with a handspring shoulder tackle in the corner, which looked very nice, actually, by Kiana James. Indy Hartwell then came in at number 5. Indy with a big boot, and Hartwell scored a fall on Perez. So once again, Perez got sent to the box, playing up that underdog mentality, and Perez was being portrayed as that come-behind babyface, exactly how they should be portraying her. Indy Hartwell using her size against Perez. Indy Hartwell scored the fall. All of a sudden, we had a super kick by Jade. German suplex by Stark. Jade kicked out of the super kick. I think it was Jade that was on the outside with Kiana James. Kiana James with a beautiful moonsault off the apron. Looked beautiful. Great stuff right there. That was one of the spots in the match where I was like, all right. She's really bringing her A game. So, again, props to Kiana James. Perez then got out of the box. Perez then had a newfound sense of urgency. She knew she needed to pick up the pace because time was ticking away. Perez then sent James into the steps, diving crossbody onto Stark, but Cora saved it. Stiff forearm strike by Stark. Perez then rolled through and got the pin on Stark. Rolled through into a nice tight cradle, and Perez got the first fall. So Stark was sent to the box. James was trying to scramble for a fall. Stark got out of the box, hit a half-and-half suplex on James. Tope suicida by Perez on Hartwell. Cannonball off the apron by Jade. Springboard crossbody by Stark onto the pile. Everyone was down. Very nicely done. So I'm looking at this, and I'm watching the match, and I'm like, all right, you know what? These women are bringing their A game. I can respect that. And everyone in this match is looking to They're looking to make sure that everyone remembers the first ever Iron Survivor Challenge as a statement. And this was not only a statement for the Iron Survivor, this was not only a statement for NXT, but it was a statement for the women's division. I gotta say, the women's division here on this show really turned it up. And I'm very, very happy to see that. They really turned it up. Because the women's division has been one of the worst aspects about NXT. On this show, it really felt like I was watching a show that cared about women's wrestling. And that's what I can respect. So all five of these women worked their asses off. So back in the ring, James hit the 401k, which is like a sling blade into a flatliner, on Indy Hartwell. Perez then came in, hit a backstabber on James. And then she hit Pop Rocks. And Perez scored the fall on Cora Jade. Jade went to the box, and everyone started scrambling for a cover. Perez and Hartwell went out of the ring. We had a super kick by Stark. Jade got out of the box. Just as James hit a beautiful Spanish fly off the top. Beautiful Spanish fly off the top. Jade tried to steal it. She went for a future shock DDT, but the clock ran out. It became a race against the clock, and Jade could not tie up the score. And in the end, Perez gets the win with 2 falls to 1-1-1, and we got Roxanne Perez as the next challenger for Mandy Rose. Very well-produced match. Very good stuff. Hard-hitting, intense action from the women. And Roxanne Perez, she was absolutely the right winner here. This was the right outcome. I have no problem with this. Roxanne Perez right now is the best overall babyface they have to take that title off of Mandy. Nikita Lyons is not ready yet. She will be soon, but she's not ready yet. Kiana James looked great in this match. The biggest standout, one of the biggest standouts of NXT Deadline. Kiana James, she will be an NXT Women's Champion sooner rather than later. Just wait. Perez, absolutely the right winner, and I assume that the winners of the Iron Survivor Challenges will be getting their matches at New Year's Evil, which I got no issue with. So at New Year's Evil, we're going to get Roxanne Perez versus Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose is absolutely losing that championship. It's time for Mandy Rose to lose. It's time for Mandy Rose to drop that championship. And it's time for Toxic Attraction to move up to the main roster. Not because they're ready, but because they've done everything that they could in NXT. So we do not need any more Toxic Attraction in NXT. If anything, I would not even bother bringing up Gigi Dolan and JC Jane. Just bring up Mandy Rose and have her do her thing on SmackDown. Because Mandy Rose is the only one out of the trio that can actually wrestle. But Roxanne Perez, absolutely the right winner, and Roxanne Perez should be the one to take down Mandy Rose. Roxanne Perez will be your new NXT Women's Champion at NXT New Year's Evil. And then when Tiffany Stratton comes back, Stratton's going to be right there to take on Roxanne Perez, and we are going to be in for some really, really interesting material with Tiffany Stratton and Roxanne Perez, because right now, those are the top 2 new NXT females out of the new bunch of talent. I think that those 2 are going to put on some great in-ring action when the time comes. But the Women's Iron Survivor Challenge, 2 thumbs up. Very well produced, very fluid. And the 25 minutes, I got to say, the 25 minutes, it is the perfect time. It's not too long. It's not too short. It's a nice, sweet spot in between. So props to everyone who produced this match. Props to everyone who wrestled in this match. Everyone did great. This was a very, very good way to introduce the Iron Survivor Challenge. So much so that one day, when the time comes and the Iron Survivor Challenge has established a little bit of history, I would love to see an Iron Survivor Challenge on the main roster. Can you imagine a guy like Ricochet and McIntyre and Gunther and Sheamus and Escobar? I'd love to see that on the main roster. I think that would be a great concept for one of these shows. If you want to bring back an Unforgiven or a No Mercy and you want to do something like that, or hell, if you want to bring in the Iron Survivor challenges for a special edition of Raw or SmackDown, I'd love to see that. I'd love that. I want to see the Iron Survivor challenge on the main roster in due time. Match number 2, Alba Fire. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. This was the second women's match of the night, and a match that I really wasn't looking forward to, but it ended up turning up to be a very good match up until the ending. What happened in the ending? We're going to talk about it. So Fire wasted no time. She went right on the attack, no wasted motion, as she should, because Isla Dawn cost her the NXT Women's Championship at the hands of Mandy Rose. Isla Dawn with a nice stiff kick. Fire then came back with a Koji clutch. Dawn got out. Dawn exposed the middle buckle. Now that would come into play later on in this match. Dawn with a running Meteor for a 2. Dawn then wore down Alba Fire. Dawn went up to the top, delivered a beautiful diving Meteora off the top. That looked great. Beautiful diving Meteora off the top. That got a 2 count. All of a sudden, Fire then came in with a diving senton to the floor on Isla Dawn. Fire then with a gourd buster, some nice stiff kicks, and a tornado DDT for a 2. Dawn with a nice roundhouse kick and a side suplex for a 2. Fire then with an enziguri, sending Dawn to the floor. Tope Suicida by Fire. She does it very well. Gory Bomb by Fire on the floor, which looked like it sucked. Back in the ring, Dawn kicked out. Fire then went up to the top, and Fire hit the Swanton Bomb, and this is where things started to go downhill. This was the only blemish about this match. All of a sudden, the referee is nowhere to be seen. He's not in camera sight. Fire pins Dawn, and all of a sudden in the corner, you see the referee puking up black gunk. Similar to what happened with Alexa Bliss and Randy Orton when we had that storyline. So, he was discombobulated. A new official came out. The referee was trying to check on the other referee who was puking up black shit. And Isla Dawn sent Alba Fire into the exposed buckle and then delivered an elbow drop reverse DDT to win the match 1, 2, 3. How exactly are you going to get people excited for the future of NXT on a show that desperately needs a reset? How exactly are you going to get people excited for 2023 NXT if you are recycling Alexa Bliss, Randy Orton, Fiend, Bray Wyatt garbage just because Isla Dawn is a witch? Listen, I don't mind the character. I don't mind the character whatsoever. It makes Isla Dawn stand out. But when you're doing shit like this type of shit is going to turn the viewer off. And on top of that, how disrespectful is that to Isla Dawn and Alba Fire? These two women went in there with the expectation from the crowd that they were going to have the weakest match of the show. And the match, for the 10 minutes that it went, ended up turning out to be a pretty decent fucking match. Really. It ended up turning out to be a pretty decent match. And I didn't have an issue with the match overall up until the ending. But the ending is going to be the only thing that people are going to remember. Is that fair to Alba Fire? Is that fair to Isla Dawn? And Isla Dawn, she's always been decent, but she's never really had a breakout moment for herself. But this match, this was probably one of the best Isla Dawn matches that I think I've seen. And now you're tarnishing that? You're tarnishing that with the referee puking up black shit? You want to have Isla Dawn be a witch, no problem, but keep that supernatural shit off of TV. The supernatural character needs to go away. It needs to go away. It needs to stop. It needs to die 1,000 deaths, never to be seen again. We do not need that shit. How disrespectful is that to these two women who busted their ass and gave us a very good match for what it was, for the 10 minutes that it went. Seriously. For the 10 minutes that it went, I can sit here and tell you, hey, this was a very good women's match. Again, all the women on this show showed up to work. They showed up to work and they brought their A game. What all people are going to be talking about is that ending. Is that fair? No, it's not fair. It's not fair to either of those women. For what it was a very good match, but that ref thing was fucking terrible. One of the very few negatives on the show. If they would have taken that off the show just would have been just a little bit better. Still a good show in the end. But man, that ref spot just left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. Really. Isla Dawn wins. I expected her to win. You're not going to have Isla Dawn come in and make her debut on NXT, cost Alba Fire the women's title, and then not have Isla Dawn get her first win at an NXT Premium Live event. So what happens now? I can see another match. We'll probably get a second match at NXT New Year's Evil, and I can see potentially a no DQ match, maybe a last woman standing match, something like that. And we'll probably see Alba Fire inevitably get the win. Who knows? Who knows? But I don't see this feud being over. But if this match was going to take place, Isla Dawn was going to be your winner. And that's exactly what we got. That's exactly what we got. Isla Dawn got the win. A very good match. But man, they really need to get rid of that cheesy, hokey, juvenile, supernatural shit. No more the black gunk. No more hocus pocus, Wizard of Oz, the fucking Wicked Witch of the West. Puppies will make them sleep. We don't need that. No. No, no, and fuck no. No. Speaking of no, we're going to be talking about, on Saturday's show, I got a lot of shit to talk about on Saturday's LFU. We're going to talk about Alicia Fox potentially being Soraya's tag team partner in the Forum in Los Angeles. Alicia Fox in AEW. Can you imagine that shit? How fucking terrible would that be? But we'll go over that. We'll go over that on Saturday, but that's a big fuck no from me. Just like the supernatural shit is a big fuck no. Anyway. So moving on from that, we go to the NXT Tag Team Championships. This is the New Day versus Pretty Deadly. NXT Tag Team Championship. This match came about this past Tuesday, and the New Day came to NXT to fight the best, to fight Pretty Deadly, and they offered Pretty Deadly the challenge, and we got the challenge right here. It was the New Day and Pretty Deadly for the NXT Tag Team Championship. Now, we're going to go over the match first. Which was a very good tag team match. It was a very good tag team match. Pretty Deadly. Some nice double team action. Pretty Deadly's always a great tag team. I just fucking hate the fact that they've been over-accentuated. You have them dressing up like fucking George Washington and fucking Charles Cornwallis from the Revolutionary War on NXT doing a State of the Union address. No, we don't need that shit. Then you have them dressing up like fucking British Santa Clauses and elves. Why are you having them dress up like elves? They were never this over-accentuated in NXT UK. And I've said that numerous amounts of times. Stupid. But Pretty Deadly's always been very good in the ring. Pretty Deadly with some nice double team action. Kofi was then isolated. Kofi came in with a single leg drop kick. Kofi then came back with a Tope Con Hero on Pretty Deadly. Pretty Deadly took over. They isolated Kofi Kingston. Kofi fought back with a tilt-a-whirl DDT on Wilson. Tag to Woods. Woods lit up Elton Prince. Rolling elbow. Drop kick on Wilson. Guillotine and a wrecking ball drop kick combination by Woods. Woods has always been great. Woods is great. Woods then came in with a slingshot tornado DDT for a 2. Elton Prince then with a palm strike and a big lariat, taking him down. That got a 2. We had some back and forth strikes by Woods and Prince. This was one of my favorite moves by Pretty Deadly. Pretty Deadly, it was Elton Prince that was in the corner. He had his back facing the corner, and then he had Kit Wilson on his back. He launched Kit Wilson off of his back as if he was launching him out of a catapult. He was launching him out of a catapult, and then we had Kit Wilson falling right into a code breaker on Xavier Woods. That was a very nice double team move right there by Pretty Deadly. Pretty Deadly, they're pretty innovative. I got to give them their props. So a nice assisted code breaker by Pretty Deadly on Woods. Woods then kicked out. So then they brought in the tag team titles, and they passed around the titles. They tried to play hot potato with the titles, and here's what they did right there. They all tried to pull in Eddie Guerrero with the title. We had one championship being handled by the referee, so the championship was passed around 1, 2, 3, 4, and they all fell down as if they all got knocked down with the championship. The referee turned around, and he didn't know what to do. So props to all those men for thinking on their feet, because, hey, if they're all down, no one can call a disqualification. So they all fall down to prevent a disqualification for either side. We had Wilson behind the referee's back, hitting Woods with the second title. Xavier Woods kicked out. Nice near fall right there. Kingston then on the outside hit Trouble in Paradise. Face first off the buckle goes Elton Prince. And then the New Day with Daybreak. That double stomp, backbreaker combination. And we got a 1-2-3 win. And the New Day win the NXT Tag Team titles. Now let me take a sip of my ice water before I dissect everything here. Like I said, the match itself was very good. The New Day has always been a great tag team. When they're serious and when they're focused and determined, they put on a good match. And that's what they did with Pretty Deadly. Went about 14 minutes. It was solid. It was fluid. It was a very good tag team match. The outcome, though, was pathetic. Not because the New Day won. I don't want you to misconstrue what I'm saying. I don't give a shit if WWE booked the New Day to win the NXT Tag Team titles. It's not pathetic because the New Day won. What's pathetic is the reason why they won. The reason why they won is the problem here. The NXT Tag Team division has been, for lack of a better term, horseshit. Horseshit. Because there's not enough tag teams. There's not enough tag teams in the NXT Tag Team division. You take a look at the main roster tag team division, and the main roster tag team division across Raw and SmackDown is very good. Look at what they got. They got Viking Raiders, Usos, Street Profits, Judgment Day, the OC, the Alpha Academy, Hit Row, Legado del Fantasma. They got plenty of solid tag. Imperium, the Brawling Brutes. Great tag teams on the main roster. Really good, solid tag teams on the main roster. NXT, they don't have enough. Pretty Deadly pretty much ran through all the tag teams that NXT gave to them. So realistically, if they ran through the New Day here, they would have no one. They would just be sitting ducks. Sitting ducks with no one to fight. Now, why did they win? It's quite simple. Because Shawn Michaels, in his deluded mind, in his pea-brained mind, in his mind-numbingly retarded brain, thinks that the New Day are going to generate interest and or higher ratings for NXT. This is the exact same shit that Vince McMahon did in NXT when he brought Dolph Ziggler in, and Dolph Ziggler won the NXT Championship. Now, I think Dolph is great. I think Dolph in NXT, when he was fighting guys like Breakker and Ciampa, and he was fighting LA Knight, I thought that Dolph Ziggler was putting on some great matches in NXT. I didn't mind the fact that Dolph was in NXT. I found the reason why Dolph was in NXT pathetic. That was the problem. Same thing here. I'm not mad that the New Day are in NXT. I'm not mad that they won the titles. Matter of fact, the New Day winning could potentially open up the door for various amounts of matches. Really, various amounts of matches. We got the New Day and the Creed Brothers. The Creed Brothers are great. The New Day and the Creed Brothers is a great tag team match. The New Day versus Idris Enofe and Malik Blade, whom I have actually really grown on as a tag team. I think that Idris Enofe and Malik Blake are a very solid tag team. They're two underdog baby faces. They look great. They got very nice looks. They're pretty solid in the ring, and they're getting better in the ring as the weeks go on. What about Veer and Sangha? I'm pretty sure that that's a very good match that we could see with the New Day. Matter of fact, I think Veer and Sangha are actually going to take the titles off of the New Day. So the matches that we could get, that's not the problem. The matches are not the problem. It's the outcome and the reason behind the outcome that's the problem. Because here's a spoiler for you. The New Day are not going to generate any interest, nor will they generate higher ratings for NXT. They won't. No one gives a shit about them. The New Day are, for lack of a better term, the Charlotte Flair of the tag team division. Undeserved title reign after undeserved title reign after undeserved title reign. People are fucking sick of the New Day. I even said it myself that the New Day should have broken up years ago. Kofi should be putting other people over, and Xavier Woods is being held back by being in the New Day. Can you imagine Xavier Woods on his own? He would be a solid Intercontinental Champion, a solid United States Champion, a solid NXT North American Champion, but he's stuck with the New Day. It's pathetic that they had the New Day win because all this did was showcase Shawn Michaels and the fact that everyone in NXT, writing NXT creative, they're all desperate. They are desperate. Here's a spoiler for you. Bringing in main roster superstars to win the championship, it doesn't make your show better, and it's not going to generate higher interest in ratings. It just shows to you that you have no one in the NXT tag team division, so you need to bring in main roster people, send them down to NXT to try and mask the failures, at least until you actually start putting some priority into the tag team division. It's pathetic. The New Day will not help NXT. Matter of fact, the ratings, I would not be surprised if the ratings go down. Not because the New Day are bad professional wrestlers, but because the overall vibe of NXT should be seeing the next generation of talent. We're not getting that with the New Day. The New Day are made men. The New Day are Hall of Famers. Why exactly did they need to win the titles? They won the titles because everyone in NXT Creative is desperate. And guess what? They will not be difference makers whatsoever. They'll give us some great matches with the teams that I just named, and I do think that in the end, they're going to drop them to Veer and Sangha. But in the end, you're not going to fucking tell me that the New Day winning the titles is not an act of desperation. Shawn Michaels and this decision is pathetic. Not because the New Day won, but because the reason behind why they won. Other than that, look, it was a very good tag team match. It was very good. This show overall was a very good wrestling show. But I mean, come on. You'd be a fucking idiot. You'd be an absolute retard if you actually think that WWE gave the New Day the titles for any other reason other than desperation for interest and ratings. Be honest with yourselves. Be honest with yourselves, or don't bother watching me because I don't need retards watching me. The match of the night. Or at least of the show. The men's Iron Survivor Challenge. This was JD McDonough, Axiom, Carmelo Hayes, Grayson Waller, and Joe Gacy. This was fucking great. And I mean great. And I gotta say, they really put the 5 best guys that they possibly could in this Iron Survivor Challenge. This was a great Iron Survivor Challenge from start to finish. Started off a little slow, and it got better and better as we went on and on and on. And this Iron Survivor Challenge, the men's, was better than the women's, and this was the Iron Survivor Challenge that made me think to myself, all right, I want to see this shit on the main roster. I really want to see this shit on the main roster. So it was JD McDonough. He got number 1. JD McDonough got number 1, and Axiom got number 2. Axiom, I'm telling you, I'm gotta say, I'm liking Axiom. I was kind of pissed off when they changed his name from A-Kid to Axiom, but I actually think he's doing pretty freaking well as Axiom. I gotta say, he's doing pretty freaking well as Axiom. I don't mind the attire. I think the attire is cool. I think the entrance is cool. I think that, I don't know what it is. It's almost like Axiom, since he transformed from A-Kid to Axiom, it's almost as if he's turned it up a notch. It's almost as if he's flying around a little bit more. With A-Kid, when he was A-Kid, I feel as though he was a little bit too technical. Now I'm watching him as Axiom, and he's flying around a little bit more. He's moving, I don't want to make comparisons, but he's moving a little bit like Rey Fenix. He's moving very, very fluidly. So you know what? I actually like the fact that they changed his name to Axiom. I think that it's pretty fucking decent. I think it's pretty decent, and I think that he's going to go a fairly decent amount of mileage with Axiom. I think that he could very well be a solid North American champion, a solid U.S. or Intercontinental champion. I think they got some with Axiom. So Axiom, with a huge dive onto McDonough, both men traded strikes back and forth. Stiff strikes to the back. Hesitation drop kick for a 2 by Axiom. JD with a beautiful discus lariat and a nice sit-out powerbomb high on the shoulders for a 2 count. Carmelo Hayes then came in at number 3, delivered a guillotine leg drop to by Hayes on Axiom. That got a 2. Hayes then with a kick to Axiom, double super kick to Hayes. Hayes dropped JD onto Axiom and then pinned Axiom for a 1-2-3. He got the first fall, and Axiom was sent into the box. JD tried to wear down Mello. Axiom's time elapsed, and Axiom got out of the box. We had a diving double crossbody on everyone. Everyone started kicking everyone, super kicks and enziguris and punt kicks, and everyone was down. All of a sudden, this was great right here. Grayson Waller draws in at number 4, and the first move of the match is his roll through into a double stunner. He pinned both Axiom, and then he pinned McDonough, and he got 2 falls just like that. And what I loved about that the most is the fact that it played up to the fact that anything can happen within an instant in the Iron Survivor Challenge. It made it feel unpredictable. And that's what I love about it. It made the match feel a little bit more unpredictable. Anything can happen. So Waller and Hayes went at it. We had a stunner on the apron to Waller. Axiom and McDonough were still in the box, and they had a brawl inside the box. So I love the fact that they were brawling inside the box. It really built up the tension. So Axiom got out. Waller went after Axiom, delivered a butterfly driver, did Mello. Mello did a butterfly driver. That got a 2. Hayes then took out Waller. Waller with a back suplex on Hayes on the table. Axiom then with a Hurricane Rana pin, and he scored the fall. Waller was sent to the box. So Waller went to the box. All of a sudden, Axiom then delivered the golden ratio on JD McDonough, and Axiom scored the second fall. JD went to the box. Number 5 was Joe Gacy. Now, I've said it once, I'll say it again. Schism sucks. Schism sucks. It's nothing but a dollar store Wyatt family knockoff. Schism has absolutely no value. It pisses me off what they did to the grizzled young veterans. And the Rock's daughter, Ava Raine, Simone Johnson, she will go nowhere with this gimmick. She will go absolutely nowhere. She will cover 0 mileage. 0 mileage. 0. However, Joe Gacy, the guy can fucking wrestle. I got to give Joe Gacy his props. If anything, this was a breakout moment for 3 individuals. Number 1 was Kiana James. Number 2 was Joe Gacy. And number 3 was the winner of the Iron Survivor Challenge for the men. But Joe Gacy, I want to focus on Joe Gacy here for a minute. Joe Gacy, with this shitty gimmick, he went in there and he said to everyone, you know what? Well, no matter what you think of my gimmick, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to give you all a show. And Joe Gacy, I got to say, Joe Gacy really impressed the shit out of me in terms of an in-ring perspective. The character, get rid of it. Get rid of it. But Joe Gacy in the ring, I got to say, he's very good. Gacy went right on the attack. He had a discus lariat on Axiom for a 2. He then got Axiom in a Rings of Saturn, and just like that, Axiom tapped out. Gacy scored a fall. Waller then got out of the box. JD McDonough got out of the box. JD then attacked Axiom. Gacy and Mello went at it. Gacy then delivered a handspring lariat. And then he tied up with Axiom and Waller. So now Gacy has got 2 falls in the span of 2.5 minutes. Hayes was then sent to the box. We had a springboard crossbody and a tope con hero on JD and Waller by Gacy. So Gacy is over here flying all over the place. He's a big guy, but he's flying all over the place. I was loving it, actually. I thought it was fantastic. Flying all over the place, one after the other. It was great. It was awesome. Axiom. Axiom was still in the box. This was a great move right here by Axiom. Axiom went to the top of the box, and Axiom does a moonsault off of the penalty box onto the pile of superstars. Beautifully done. Carmelo Hayes' time then expired. Hayes then with a tilt-a-whirl slam. Waller kicked out. We had a crossface, and Grayson Waller tapped out. So Hayes now ties it up. It is 2-2-2-2-0 with JD McDonough at 0. Waller went to the box. Things started breaking down. We had a Devlin side on Waller, a Devlin side on Gacy, a Devlin side on Hayes. Everyone broke up the count. JD was frustrated, and then he was surrounded. JD McDonough was surrounded by everyone, and everyone with quadruple stereo super kicks to McDonough. He was out. Waller was out of the box. Waller was taken out by Gacy. We had a Uranagi to Waller on the steps. We had a Bubba Bomb into a Rings of Saturn by Gacy. But the Rings of Saturn were broken up by McDonough. He locked in the Rings of Saturn on McDonough now. Axiom saved it. Rings of Saturn on Axiom now by Gacy. So 1, 2, 3 Rings of Saturns in a row. All of a sudden, Axiom with a moonsault DDT on, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was Joe Gacy. I believe it was Joe Gacy, and Joe Gacy was taken out. Then all of a sudden, Hayes with the diving guillotine leg drop, in which he calls nothing but net. All of a sudden, just when we thought Carmelo Hayes was going to win it, Grayson Waller stopped him, pulled him out, covered Axiom, and scored the deciding fall. And then Waller, for the rest of the time, just ran around, played cat and mouse, and Grayson Waller let the time expire. Grayson Waller is the men's Iron Survivor. Now, the match itself was great. Everyone did great in this match. Kiana James was breakout star number 1. Joe Gacy was breakout star number 2. Breakout superstar number 3 was Grayson Waller. And something about Grayson Waller, let me tell you something. Grayson Waller has always been solid. Grayson Waller has come up through the ranks and he has done a very good job. He's owned the heel gimmick. He's a cocky, conceited, pretty boy prick. He's all about the social media likes and the Tinder swipes and always trying to make a big name for himself. He's using this catchphrase, the Grayson Waller effect. And Grayson Waller's just been waiting. He's just been waiting for quite some time now. He's been waiting for over a year. He's always been good. He's had a couple of solid performances here and there. His performances in the ladder match, his performances against Hayes. He's had some solid performances. He had a very good match against AJ Styles on NXT. But he just hasn't had that one breakout moment where he's gotten the win, where he's really shined. He's had great performances, but he always loses in the end. This was his breakout moment. This was the big break that Waller's been waiting for. Win or lose against Braun Breaker, Grayson Waller is going to be elevated. And this was the first step to bringing Waller up to that portion, to that upper mid-card portion into the main event scene. Grayson Waller's been waiting for a very long time for his moment, and he got it. And you know what? I'm happy for him. I think Grayson Waller is very good at what he does. He's very good in the ring. He's getting better in the ring. And he knows how to generate heat. He just has that vibe, and he has that face in which you want to see him get kicked in the face repeatedly. And that's a great thing about Grayson Waller. So you know what? Props to Grayson Waller. He did great. And this was well-deserved for his first big major breakout moment. Good for him. Main event. Braun Breaker and Apollo Crews. This was for the NXT Championship. This went nearly 15 minutes. And it was very good. I didn't mind it. But at the end of the day, there was two things about this match. Number one, obviously, was the outcome. Number two was the fact that, I don't know about you, but it felt like it could have gone another 6 minutes. I don't know why they stopped it at around 14 and a half minutes. It could have gone at least 20. That's what I would have done. Either way, this was a match worthy of being called the main event. It was very good. Braun Breaker, he's always been good. He is at the top of his game right now. I don't know why he hasn't been called up to the main roster. Apollo Crews has always been great. And if it was up to me, I would have given the NXT title to Apollo Crews here. I don't know why Apollo Crews did not win. Now, I have a theory, and we'll talk about that after we go over the match here. So this was a very technical start here. These guys working a very technical base early on. A nice stalling suplex by Breaker. Tope Suicida by Breaker onto Crews. We had a leaping knee by Crews in the ring. Crews then with a Death Valley driver for a 2. We had a nice German suplex barrage. That got a 2 count. Crews then with multiple power bombs. Braun Breaker still kicked out. Crews then with a frog splash. Crews only got a 2 count. Braun Breaker then mounted a comeback. One after the other. We had a nice slam out of the air. Braun Breaker delivered one of the best Steiner Bulldogs I think I've ever seen from him. He flew through the air, flew 3/4 of the way across the ring into a Steiner Bulldog on Crews for a 2. Apollo reversed the military slam into a spike DDT. Crews was then in position and he hit a very nice spine buster for a 2. Crews then with a military press into a power bomb on Braun Breaker. Or a power slam, rather, on Braun Breaker. So Braun Breaker hit Crews with a spine buster, which was Crews' finishing move. And then Crews delivered a military press power slam, which is Braun Breaker's finishing move. So they traded finishing moves. That was very nice. Breaker kicked out. Both men traded strikes back and forth. Then they told each other, you hit me, you hit me. So we got a nice hockey fight. We had a punt kick and an enziguri by Cruz. Cruz then went for a lariat. Breaker dodged it and hit a spear. And Braun Breaker got the 1, 2, 3 on Apollo Crews. Great match. Great main event. It was a match worthy of being called the main event. I just wish it would have gone a little bit longer. I was actually expecting something along the lines of what we got at Halloween Havoc. Because at Halloween Havoc, we got one of the best triple threat matches in WWE all year with JD McDonough, Dragunov, and Braun Breaker at Halloween Havoc. That match was phenomenal. Probably the best NXT Championship match of the entire year. It was unbelievable. This match, it was great, but it felt like it could have gone longer. I don't know why they ended it so quick. I would have had Cruz kick out and continued on with the match. That's just me. The other thing was the outcome. I don't understand why Braun Breaker needed to retain here. Apollo Crews, you built up Apollo Crews, and you've built him up to win the NXT Championship. This is what he came back for. Not really sure why you had Apollo Crews lose here. Makes him kind of look weak. Makes him kind of feel as though Apollo Crews' NXT run was for nothing. Stupid. Now, the only reason why I think Apollo Crews lost, and I'm not sure if this is the case, but it's certainly a possibility, is WWE saving Carmelo Hayes for Braun Breaker at Stand and Deliver. Because Stand and Deliver is pretty much going to be the 1-year anniversary of Braun Breaker as the NXT champion. And if that's the case, are we going to see Braun Breaker inevitably drop the championships or the championship to Carmelo Hayes? Now, granted, Carmelo Hayes and Braun Breaker, that'll be a fantastic match. Be a great match. That'll be awesome. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Carmelo Hayes needs it. He doesn't need it. Carmelo Hayes needs to get called up to the main roster now. Carmelo Hayes should be on the main roster, and Carmelo Hayes should be the new leader of Hit Row. Hit Row needs to be in a position where they have a sense of direction. Carmelo Hayes would give them that sense of direction. Right now, they're just kind of a tag team that's just there. We need a solid leader for Hit Row. We do. And if we don't get it, then they're probably going to stay in the position that they're in right now. And Carmelo Hayes, he is more than ready for the main roster. He needs to be mixing it up with guys like Escobar and guys like Ricochet and guys like McIntyre and Sheamus and Gunther and Nakamura and Rey Mysterio. That's where we need Carmelo Hayes. We don't need him in NXT anymore. He's well past his expiration date in NXT, as is Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes should have been the top two individuals that WWE should be focused on calling up after WrestleMania season. Them and Cameron Grimes, too. I would love to see those three individuals in the Royal Rumble. But after the match, Grayson Waller then came out. He gave Braun Breaker the roll-through stunner, and then he held up the NXT Championship. Do I think Waller's going to win the championship? No, I don't. I honestly do believe that they're building towards Carmelo Hayes and Braun Breaker. And neither of these men need the NXT Championship. They don't. Neither of those men need the NXT Championship. I'm not even sure why we are even entertaining the idea of Carmelo Hayes as the NXT Champion. He's more than ready for the main roster. We'll see what happens. Listen, I'm not going to complain. I think Carmelo Hayes would be a fantastic NXT champion, but he doesn't need it. He doesn't. If it was up to me, I wouldn't mind if they gave the title to Grayson Waller. Grayson Waller's a very good heel. He's a heat magnet. He's a prick. So you know what? If Grayson Waller wins the championship, I'm not going to be mad about it at all. I would have Grayson Waller win the championship, and then Braun Breaker, he can enter the Rumble. Then maybe he can get his rematch against Grayson Waller. I would have no problem with that at all. But I don't understand. I really do not understand why Apollo Crews lost the championship match. I don't understand why Braun Breaker won the match again. I'm not sure why Braun Breaker is still the NXT champion. There's no reason for him to still be the NXT champion. It's done. It's over with. Really. He needs to be on either Raw or SmackDown. ASAP. We'll see what happens going forward, but we got our 1-2 punch for New Year's Evil. It is Braun Breaker and Grayson Waller for the NXT Championship, and it is Mandy Rose and Roxanne Perez for the NXT Women's Championship. And once again, I will state, this was a very good show, very good wrestling, very good storytelling, a breakout moment for multiple superstars, both male and female, and the Iron Survivor challenges, 2 thumbs up, and I would love to see an Iron Survivor challenge on the main roster going forward. I really would. Not yet, but in due time. Going forward, this show must be used as a blueprint. Use the show as a blueprint and use this show as a reference for all NXT shows going forward. If you base all NXT weekly shows, special events, and pay-per-views on Deadline, you have a winning combination for getting NXT back into a place where people will look at it and say, hey, this is not a bad show. This is a decent wrestling show. You'll get it back to that place in 2023. We're never going to get Black and Gold back, but if we can get something like Deadline every week, I got no issue with that. Ladies and gents, after a week full of streams, that's it. That wraps up this edition of The Rewind. I would like to thank each and every single one of you who tuned into this stream. You guys are great. Like, comment, subscribe. Check out all those links in the description. ISPW vlog video from Christmas Chaos is going up on Wednesday. And then we got the LFU on Saturday. And I'm thinking about doing an LFU for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Not Christmas Day. New Year's Eve, too. Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. But until then, you guys have been fantastic. Thank you all for all of your support. You have all been great. I'm DJ Storms. This has been The Rewind. But before we get out of here, a very important question. Who runs the IWC, baby? Who runs it? You gotta fucking tell me. I want to know. I want to know who runs it. I'll tell you who runs it. Who? But DJ motherfucking Storms. And don't you forget it.